obvious. And today I have my special guest with the PhD in adult learning and organizational leadership. Well, learning development strategies, over 20 years of experience helping organizations and educators turn learning into a driver of real performance. Other than Mr. Stephen
Good morning,
Linley.
Daniel. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Stephen. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed? And welcome on Abstract Essay.
Oh, thank you. I've spent a lot of time in corporate America looking at how performance and learning mesh with each other. And then I went and finished out a PhD in adult learning, studying how subject matter experts prepare to train coworkers, because most of the training that happens in organizations happens organically inside of a work unit. So there's not a whole lot of research there. So I spent some time researching that subject to see what's going on underneath to drive performance. How do people learn in a workplace? How do people teach in a workplace if they've never been a formal trainer? Because there's people that are instructors, facilitators, people that have spent time in formal training to learn those skills. But most of the people that are teaching are just coworkers teaching other coworkers, right? So there's a huge driver of performance there in understanding how people learn in a workplace and how we can capture that as leaders and how we can drive that as leaders.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Steven. Thank you. And today let's talk about being a leader across corporate and higher education.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, you've led in the mission of driven world of academia and profit-driven environment of a corporate. How does your fundamental philosophy of leadership change or not change when you cross that bridge?
The foundation didn't cross or it didn't change really, because it's really about focusing on the person and understanding the individual that you're working with. Who's on your team? What are they good at? What gives them strength? And there's a big fundamental misunderstanding, I think, out there. If you want to look at the research from Marcus Buckingham at ADP and at Gallup, um, that strengths are things that you're good at, but that's a kind of a misunderstanding. Strengths are things that make you stronger, if that makes sense to you. It's like if I'm doing an activity and I get energized from doing it, I'm getting energy from that. I'm getting energy from the people around me. I'm getting stronger. That's a strength. I'm really good at math, but it doesn't make me stronger. it's just it's just something I
Okay.
do.
Mhm.
I have to do math to do research analysis. I have to do math to do data analysis. I'm very good at it. I don't like doing it. it's, it's just something that I have to do, and,
Mhm.
and I've always been pretty good at it. So it doesn't math doesn't necessarily make me stronger, but when I'm working with someone and I'm coaching someone on their job and I'm helping them figure out what they need to do to get better at their job, how we can focus on their strengths, how we can get them to perform at a higher level. That's what makes me stronger. I get excited about that. I get energized about that. I can do that all day long.
Mm.
Math, I'm going to have to take a break.
Well, Mr. Steve or Mr.
Yeah.
Steven, how do you reconcile the different definition of success and impact in these two spheres? Is it a corporate quarter analogies or to an academic semester or in a leader's mind?
Well, there's impact on the organization. There's impact on the individual, and the impact on the organization changes obviously. So when I'm in a leader position in a corporation, I have certain goals that I have to achieve. I have to help the company, my department in the company, reach their organizational goals. When I'm and those are going to be different than the organizational goals when I'm working with the university. So at university, the last director position I had at a university, we were looking at reducing um, student turnover, which is more of a corporate term. They would use retention in the university. So we want to increase retention of students. We want like reduce dropouts and increase retention. I'm not so much worried about that in the corporation. I mean, I am. I want to retain my employees, but it's not as big of an issue as it is in college. So because there's a lot more reasons that someone drops out of a college than someone leaves a company. So the impact on the organization differs, but my impact as a leader, my impact on the team, is surprisingly the same. I'm looking at helping people excel at what they're doing, and that's a lot through coaching and learning skills, and those are fundamentally the same. I've worked in many different industries. Hospitality. I worked for a hotel chain. I worked for a distribution company. I was on an executive steering committee at a firm that distributed plumbing products. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but we all have to have it. I've
Definitely.
yeah, I've worked in governmental agencies. I've worked with nonprofits. I've worked with small firms. You know that from as a consultant, I've worked is with small firms that only had two people. I've worked with firms that have had thousands of employees. But all across that, coaching skills are the same. Like it's surprisingly consistent because people are, it's people. A leadership position is really about driving performance through people, and understanding how they learn, understanding how they perform is constant all the way through, even though the organizational impact is different. That my context is changing, but the content of how I deal with my team is very consistent, actually. So that may be surprising for a lot of people, but if there's other people out there that have gone through different industries like I have, they've probably seen the same thing.
So let's talk about the decision making speed.
Sure.
One arena is often stereotyped as agile and decisive. The other is deliberatively and consensus driven. How have you adopted your decision making rhythm, and what is each world taught you about the pace and good leadership?
I, I think decision making has been changing steadily as it's gotten faster. The speed of business has gotten steadily faster over arithmetically. Um, it's moving much faster towards agile. If companies aren't already there, then they're probably behind at this point. Um, Everything needs to be iterative as opposed to working through a problem as a whole and then coming out with a solution. If you want to look at the learning and development space in corporations where I've spent most of my career, there's an ADDIE model, which is kind of a project from assessment to evaluation, and it's a whole model of assessment, design, development, implement, execute. Um, but there's also agile processes where you do rapid prototyping, and you get something. It's the agile minimum viable project or minimal viable product. Excuse me. That concept of getting something out there that's usable, and then iterate to make it better and better and better. That's really where you have to land because things are going so fast right now. And that's not if you're still using a full project from assessment to implementation. Um, are you going to have bad products? No, you're going to have excellent products. They're just going to be slower than everybody else. In with the speed of business these days, you've got to have something that's out there. Obviously, you don't want to go out there with something that's full of errors or bugs. You want something that's fully workable. But there's things that you can do after something that if I'm building an online training program to support, say, a customer call center, um, I need to have something that's out there quick and usable that gets the information done. and then I can start assessing how well that's being used and what type of impact it has on the organizational goals and the KPIs and all that type of stuff. Um, and then taking a look at the return on investment. And once I have something out there, I can't start churning through those that data until I have something that's usable. So I need to get something out there that I can iterate and tweak and move on with. So a big thing is being flexible and iterative and agile and getting something out there that I really can't wait to have something that's been formed and tested and focus grouped and stuff like that. It just has to be a minimal viable product, because that's really the speed of business at this point.
Mr. Steven, what is a Focus LLC all about?
I'm sorry, say it again.
What is the Focus LLC all about?
Oh, Focus LLC, yes. Um, we're taking a look at how people learn, and we design learning experiences to help departments, companies, individuals perform at a higher level and meet whatever type of goals that companies have. We've worked with small companies, we've worked with Fortune 100 companies, but it's about finding where people are, where the company needs them to be, and how do we bridge that gap, and how we can build experiences to get people there. It's not just about writing a policy manual. It's about building an experience that someone can. If I'm a customer service agent and I'm talking to customers about problems that they're dealing with, if I'm training someone to work in that environment, I have to give them situations where they can make a decision, because we never have full information. So we have to have situations where we can get them to make decisions with partial information, and then work them through a process about how to make a decision, and about giving them experiences in a safe training environment where they can make mistakes and figure things out and get proper coaching from their leaders about how things should be handled and so forth. This can be done through simulations, AI training, AI-based training. It can be something that's a simple online training course, but it's a big thing about building performance support. It's like, how do we get people to perform better, and how do we get learning to people in their normal workflow, so that it's part of their normal everyday process to figure things out and learn and make decisions about what they need to do in the workplace.
While people don't afraid to commit mistake because or failure, because you will learn from them. This will
That's
be the process to will be better.
right.
Excellent of what you're doing. On challenges and adaptation, Mr. Steven, the
Mhm.
tenure versus the turnover challenge. In higher ED, you might lead tenure faculty with immense job security. In
Mhm.
corporate,
That's
you might manage teams with a frequent turnover. What are the
mhm.
most contrasting leadership challenge these environments present, and how do you motivate such different, well,
Yeah,
groups?
you really hit it on the button, because tenure is a huge. Well, the universities look at it as academic freedom, right? Tenure gives a professor freedom to do what they need to do in the classroom to further their research and further their students' learning. It also separates them from the university leadership. So what happens in a classroom isn't necessarily being controlled or being or has oversight from the school administration until you get to like a dean level or a provost level. So if you're looking at a department chair or something, they really don't have any influence of what's going on inside the classroom. It's the professor's choice. In a corporation, you don't see that type of choice. It's
True.
the company is doing this, and this is what we need you to do to help us to get there.
Hmm.
Someone in a department inside a corporation doesn't get to say, "Oh, I'm gonna go do this completely different product." There's times where you have that type of product development where you have that type of freedom, but it's not every day like a professor has. So from a leadership challenge, that's something to deal with. So you in a but if you're working with individuals, so when I'm working with my faculty, I was working with the university, a STEM faculty, so math, science, mostly like in kinesiology, biology, physics. So we were dealing with curriculum redesign about how can we build um, curriculum that engages the students more, because our top line goal was to reduce dropouts, increase retention, and reduce in universities, I call it DFWs, which is students who get an F or withdraw, right? So we want to reduce that, and we want to boost academic success. So as someone that's helping faculty do that, I have no control or influence over. Oh, I have influence. I don't have any control over what's happening in the classroom. So I'm working with them to find out, okay, what's motivating your students. So I'm actually working with them through a process to understand their students better, and I'm doing classroom observations. I'm working with the faculty to get them to walk through a process of identifying what a student needs and what would motivate a student. And then once they see that, now my job is helping them with curriculum design gets easier, because now they have a focus in their heads, like, this is what my students need. And then when we start looking at different options about what we can do in the classroom, we can go back to that. Is that going to help the student? Is that going to help motivate them? Is that meeting them where they at? Or is it an antithesis to what the student needs? So it gives us a basis for comparing new ideas. That same concept can be used in a corporation. If I'm working with a leader in a corporation to improve performance, I can talk to them about, okay, let's analyze your work team. What are the strengths of your work team? What are they working on? What do they need? What type of things do they need to learn? And then when we're talking about options, we can start comparing that. Does that meet their motivational needs and their performance needs, or does it not? Right. So the process is the same, but a lot of the control is different. It's like I have a much higher task of influencing in higher ed than I do in corporates, because there's generally an executive that's involved in a corporate that says, you all need to do this, so figure it out quickly. So on the plus side, in corporations, the process generally goes faster, because people have a directive to do something, and their performance and their pay and their performance evaluation is being based on how quickly they meet those goals. That's not true in a university. So it's generally a longer process. But again, and I said at the beginning, it's like there's things that are constant across industries, even from corporate to higher ed, is that there's people involved. And when there's people involved, if we understand the person, we understand how they learn, we understand what they need, what motivates them, then we can build learning that helps them improve their performance and improve impact they have in their organization.
Mr. Steven, as a leader, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
My well, they're kind of the same at this point. I've made the transition into more of a coaching, consulting role. I'm here to help people with their processes and help them to think through it. And how can I help you be better at your leadership position? And how can I help you build things into your normal workflows that will make your performance of your teams better? As opposed to someone that's in those leadership roles that's making things happen. So I've made that switch in my career. So at this point, my short-term and long-term goals are the same. It's really digging in and helping people understand the psyche behind learning and how learning impacts performance.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Steven, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be a leader like you?
The big thing: understand your team, understand what makes them strong, understand how they learn, And once you understand how they learn, then you can dig into how that uh, impacts how they perform over the long term and how that can impact your organization. The big thing is understand your team.
Understand your team. Thank you for that advice, Mr. Steven. Let's
You're
talk about the
welcome.
preparing future leaders. If you were designing the ultimate leadership development program today, what are the non negotiable elements you borrow the academic environment and the corporate environment?
Uh, One is communication presentation skills, and I don't mean like the ability to put together a PowerPoint deck. I'm it's like there's so many things that are decided from a presentation of ideas, and being able to communicate clearly to somebody what you're trying to do and what you're recommending and what type of decisions you think need to be made. And this is both up and down inside of a hierarchy, because if I'm in a director role in a corporation, the way that I present information to my team is going to be different than the way I present my information to the executives that are above me, right? Because people on my team need tactical advice. They need tactical, practical information about what I'm doing today, right? So people need to know what's my job, how do I know when I've done it well, and what's the purpose behind it. Which is things that corporations get wrong a lot. That people really don't understand what they understand like tasks, but they don't understand what it is that their role does to impact the whole organization. When you're going up, you're presenting information to executives. They're looking for information to help them make decisions, which is different than your team that needs information to do something. So the something, well, I guess the something's different. People are tactical at the individual contributor role. They're more externally focused and decision making focused up. So those type of communications and the way that you present information is different depending on who you're talking to in an organization. So the big thing that leaders need to know that business schools don't generally teach you is how to present information in concise ways that people can understand it and find it usable inside of an organization at different levels. It's something that's sorely lacking in business school, to be honest.
Mhm. So, Mr. Steven, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in third season, and of course, my book 101 review in sixth season as well, comedy 101 third season, and my food 101 in sixth season as well, geography 101 love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 are fifth season, Science 101, Sex 101, and fourth season, and my baby podcast, Trivia 101, Law 101, Mental Health 101, Motivation 101, Entrepreneurship 101, and of course, my Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Steven, we often see leaders who move from academia to corporate. Where are you seeing in terms of corporate leader moving to university presidencies or dean roles? What are they often brilliantly prepared for and the blindsides them?
I think that should actually happen more, where corporate leaders move into university administration. That doesn't happen a lot. I think it needs to happen more, because there's business aspects that that you get from working in a business that you don't get from university. There's a lot of university leaderships that move executives that move up from a professor role, and they don't necessarily have the skills. They're learning the skills as they go up, as opposed to having the skills in their back pocket when they start the position. So a lot of administrators can be kind of slow on the draw, which is okay. It's learnable skills. I mean, it's things that you can learn, but they're how to run an organization. If I have a PhD in chemistry, that doesn't teach me how to run a business. And
Mm-hmm.
universities are businesses. There's
Yes.
gigantic budgets and endowments. It's like, how do I run that most efficiently and get things done? And you see it a lot with small universities because they don't have the mega endowments that like a University of Texas or like University of Michigan or Harvard or Yale. He's like those type of schools have $1 billion endowments. Little schools
Mm-hmm.
don't have anything at all, to be quite honest. And post COVID, there's a bunch of small universities like say 5,000 enrollment and lower that have been deficit spending since COVID. And that's a different arena of how do I understand that financial situation and how do I make that work for me. Leaders from executives from corporations know how to run those debt balances. Um, and universities could be using that experience, but you generally don't see it that way. You might get someone late in their career that makes the switch. A lot of it honestly has to do with pay scales. If I'm an executive at a
Sure.
corporation, I'm making way more than an executive in a university, unless you get to like one of the top tier universities. But yeah, it's there's a skill gap there, and I've seen it. Even I worked for a hospital corporation for a while, and I would see it there too. Like clinical directors were trained in their medical field. Like a director of nursing was trained as a nurse and then moved into the director role. They didn't have a business background to get to that director. They were just really good nurses and got along with their staff and were good at helping people out. But there was a lot of times when I was working leadership development and there was a hospital up in the Chicago area that I was working with. I was going to the point where I was teaching them, like the clinical directors, how to read a profit and loss sheet, how to read a budget sheet. They'd never even seen one when they got into that role. So you get a lot of people that are practitioners that move into leadership roles. So there really needs to be a lot of cross pollination going on. I think organizations would be better off if they cross pollinated in with people that have more of a business background and people that have more of a practical background and kind of mesh those two. Doesn't that make sense? But I
Makes
mean, it's
sense,
yeah.
Mr. Steven, and thank you so much for sharing your
You're welcome.
knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now? Mr. Steven, can you
Sure.
please invite our listeners?
Oh, where to find me? I'm sorry, I missed.
Yes, please.
Oh,
Where-
yeah, you can find us at the focus group. You can search us with focusgroup.io,
Mhm.
and you can see the different companies that we've been working with there, both big and small. We focus mostly on customer service in helping companies deal with training and performance improvement of customer service centers.
So, Mr. Steven, I have one more question.
Mhm.
For a mid career professional in either sector who aspires to lead in the other, what is your single most important piece of bridging advice?
Focus on the people. This kind of the advice that I gave before with leadership is focusing on your people, understanding your people. Like once you have that knowledge, you can work in any industry you want.
Mr. Stephen Linley, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Welcome, people. See you soon.